All right, in this video, I am going over the answers to the 8-1 skill check. So all of the questions that are in this assignment are kind of review from the 8-1.1, the 8-1.2, and the 8-1.3. So these questions should look familiar. So the first thing it says, determine whether each expression is a monomial. Write yes or no, explain. So just as a reminder, a monomial is going to be a number, a variable, or a product of numbers and variables. So product was the key word. When we look at this first example, we have 21a squared over 7b. Now, when we see something in a fraction form like this, this is considered to be a quotient. We're not allowed to have a variable in the denominator. So this one, we are going to say no. And the reason being is it is a quotient, not product. So again, the key is that the variable is in the bottom. And I'll put in parentheses, variable in denominator. All right, so that is the first one. Now in the second one, we have b to the third, c to the second, all divided by 2, or over 2. Now I'm saying that it's division, however, this can be rewritten. So this is actually a monomial for the reason that b to the third, c to the second, all divided by 2, this can be rewritten so that it's 1/2 times b to the third times c to the second. So I've turned this what looked like a division problem where it's a quotient into a multiplication problem. And as soon as we have a product, then we have a monomial. So this is a product. So first one was not a monomial because it had a variable in the denominator. This one does not have a variable in the denominator, so it is a monomial. Okay, in the next section, we are going to simplify. So we are given some powers here, and we are going to have to do some multiplying. We are also, like in future ones, it's not wanting to move for me. There we go. We might see where we've got powers that we're raising to a power, or that more specifically, we might have a product here that we're raising to a power. So we're just reviewing some of the ideas that were laid out in the 8-1.2 and the 8-1.3. So I'm going to start with this. When you see something like this where you are multiplying the powers, you want to start by multiplying your numbers first. So I'm going to do -5 times 3, and I get -15. So that's where this is coming from, this -15. The next piece that I'm going to do is this x squared times the x to the 4th. So the bases are the same, so we keep the number, we've got x, and then when you multiply powers like this, you have to add the exponents. So we've got 2 x's here and 4 x's there for a total of 6 x's. So that's where this x to the 6th power is coming. And then we look, we've got a y, and then you look in the other set of parentheses, there is no y. That's okay, we'll just bring it down here and write y. That's where this is coming from. So our answer here is negative 15x to the 6th power y. And that's all I have to write. All right, moving on to the next one. So I'm starting with my numbers. So 2 times 4 is going to give me 8. So 2 times 4 is 8. That's where this number is coming from. Then I move on to my next one. A times a to the 3rd is going to be a to the 4th. All I'm doing is I think of this as like a phantom 1. 1 plus 3 gives me 4 a's. Next one, I've got b squared and b squared. My base stays the same, so I've got a b and I'm adding my exponent. So 2 plus 2 gives me 4. Oh, I should have highlighted. This should be blue. This is going to be green, except it's blue. Try again, computer. There we go. And then finally, the last, we have c squared and c squared. So we keep our base the same. We've got the c. We've got 2 here, 2 there. 2 plus 2 gives us 4. So here's the last piece. So our answer, 8, a to the 4th, b to the 4th, c to the 4th. Dang. All right. Okay, next one. We do our numbers first. So 3 times negative 2 gives us, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. So we've got that first number. Then we've got c times a c squared. C is the base, it stays. There's a phantom 1 here, so we've got 1c here and another 2 here. We add them together. 1 plus 2 gives us 3. And then the next part, we have a d to the 4th, but there is no d to multiply it with, so we just bring it straight down. D to the 4th, nothing changed with that. Answer here, negative 6, c to the 3rd, d to the 4th. And as you write these, just as a reminder to you, when you write them side by side like this, it'd be like saying negative 6 times c to the 3rd times d to the 4th, but we don't need to say times in between each time. All right, next one. Do your numbers first. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. G to the 3rd, G to the 5th. We have G's, and we have 3 here, 5 there. 3 plus 5 gives us 8. Now, in addition, we also have an H. There is no H in the second set of parentheses, so we just bring it down. Ooh, and I forgot to do my highlighting. That should be blue because that's where that came from, and this came from the yellow numbers. Okay, so answer here, negative 8, G to the 8th, H. All right, so those were all kind of like the problems that we did in the 8-1.2. Now we're getting into problems that are more, oh no, this is the same thing. We're keeping it rolling. All right, keeping it rolling with this. So we do our numbers first. This is a little bit more challenging because there's a fraction. We've got negative 15 times a negative 1/3. Now a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive number, and then 1/3 of 15 is going to be 5. Now, if you are someone where you can't do that in your head, that's okay. We have calculators for this reason. So I plug in negative 15, and just like we practiced in previous lessons where we had to use our calculator, we want to multiply times a negative 1 divided by 3. And you'll notice that I put that negative 1 divided by 3 in parentheses because that's what we learned to do with that's what we learned to do with fractions. We always put them in parentheses. So I hit enter, and it comes out as a positive 5. So that is where this 5 is coming from. Then I've got an x and an x. So again, these are phantom 1s up top. So we have x, 1 here and 1 there. So we have a total of 2 x's. And then we have a y to the 4th and a y to the 3rd. Meaning we have a total of 4 plus 3, which would be 7 y's. So your answer to number 7 is 5x to the 2nd, y to the 7th. All right, in the next video, we will continue on with number 8.